You're watching the video lecture for Project Charter, as shown in the DMADVR Toolbox Revision F for project definition and scope management. Before we get into the project charter, I'd like to cover 3 secrets behind great teams as relayed by Stephen R. Covey in an article that was printed in USA Weekend, July 2008. Stephen states, "Make your team greater by establish your mission. What are the ultimate objectives? Put it in writing to establish your purpose. Keep it in front of the team at all times to maintain focus. This is the purpose of the project charter." It goes on to say, set the ground rules. Lay down ground rules and values on day 1. Make clear what is acceptable and what is not. Promote key values within the team. This is the purpose of the first assignment that we give students in the Capstone class of establishing team norms. And then lastly, it says identify each team member's strengths. Focus on the complementary strengths of each member to minimize weaknesses. The best teams maximize their efficiency by leveraging their strength and keeping egos in check. This last item is covered both by the project charter and by an effective project plan put together by the team. We will cover project plans, work breakdown structures in a later video. So moving on to the project charter. The purpose is, of course, to define the scope of the project. It is a formal document. It will provide authority to a project manager to conduct a project within the scope, quality, time, cost, and resource constraints as laid down in the document. Project charter usually involves a mission statement, including background for the project, the purpose, and the benefits. Goals, objectives, scopes, assumptions, and constraints are often included in a project charter. This slide shows what a project charter looks like that's been filled out for a proposed project. Keep in mind that this is the key document that is created at the initiation of a project, records what is known about the project and what is planned, and it helps the project sponsor and the team to agree on expectations prior to a project start. It also provides a common place for all information to be stored, revised, and shared regarding the scope of the project, its deliverables, expectations, and timetables. A template for the project charter is available on your course SciPoint, typically in the course information area under a folder titled Templates or Toolboxes. The advantage of doing a project charter is, first of all, that it forces concurrence on the project objectives and goals. The team and the sponsor will work together to define the project, to understand the problem, the opportunity, the importance, the customers or stakeholders in the project, the scope of the project and its deliverables, the goals and metrics by which those deliverables will be measured, the schedule for the project, and the team roster. Project scope is acknowledged and the changes are managed through an effective document. So how to get started? First, we need a scope statement. What is the problem to be fixed? What are the major deliverables? Is there analysis with a recommendation to be made? Is there a design to be created? Is there a prototype of a product or a process that must be built? Is there testing with data analysis to be done? Break down the work based on specific deliverables that are being requested and determine specific functions required for the release of a new product, process, or service. In filling out the project charter, there are several sections that will be looked at. We're going to go through those in detail here. First section is the title block. Gives us the opportunity to give an official name to the project, the list who is involved with the project, who sponsors the project and the contact for that sponsor, and then the project start and end dates. On Toolbox Revision F, there is now an additional box next to the title block called the Project Charter Sign-Off, Project Scope Confirmed. This is simply a box that allows the sponsor representative and the team lead to sign and date the document as being agreed upon. All information is on, concurrence is made, and the project scope and deliverables are now established for the project. If there comes a time at any date later that a change wishes to be made, then the two persons who have signed the docket need to be consulted before any change can be made. So let's look at the other sections in the project charter, first starting with the problem statement. Its purpose is to describe the current situation and the problems and challenges. Can the problem be defined? Can it be measured? Who is impacted by the problem? We are looking at an example charter by a team called Meyertech that is designing a cook stove for Rwanda. And they state here in their charter their problem statement. In Rwanda, the common means of cooking and boiling water is over an open flame using 3 stones to support the pot. This method is both inefficient and unsafe. A typical family unit is living at a subsistence level. The area economy is at a standstill, and a means of providing additional income or reducing living expenses is needed. So the problem statement is focused clearly on efficiency of cooking and the associated problems related to fuel usage and safety and economy. Which leads next to the opportunity statement. What can be created or provided to solve the problem or the challenge that's at hand? Can a need or a market be identified for the product or process or service to be realized? In this case with the Meyertech team, they state they are to develop a stove that can be produced locally with local products that will be safe and efficient. Launching of individual businesses, building, and selling of the stove will provide additional income. Increased efficiency will reduce fuel costs. Increased safety will reduce burn injuries and blindness. The statement is concise, yet carries a great deal of information as to the opportunities that are presented by working on this problem. So the team will design a stove. In doing so, will increase safety. It will also do so by creating a business that can be run by an individual that will provide additional income to the family. The increased efficiency will reduce fuel costs for families using the stove and will also increase safety, thereby reducing injuries within family units that are using this product. So moving on, why is this project important? Why now? What are the consequences if we don't do it? Connection to the organization's short and long-term goals is usually stated here, and description of the benefits to the user is also to be implied here in this section. Meyertech, in this case, says this product will open up opportunities for jobs, will also increase productivity for villages. Added income and money saved will boost local economies. Generally, what would happen in a case like this is the families that would use a stove like this would see their dollars go farther as they use less wood or other fuel sources to cook their meals, and that money could be used to purchase additional fuel or food or clothing or other needs that the family units may have, thereby raising the level of economy in that village. Next section is identify who benefits from this project. Who are the primary customers or stakeholders? End users, of course, are usually involved, but there are also immediate customers to the project team. We'll also have a chance to list any other stakeholders who are vested in the project, that is, have an interest or an investment involving with the project. Team Meyertech in this case is listed down that the primary user will be family households, mainly women. Also, additional stakeholders they list: proprietors who will assemble and sell the product, distributors and shipping companies who transport stove kits from the manufacturer to the country in need, manufacturer of the stove kit materials, and salespeople distributing the kits in Rwanda to local proprietors. Next is the scope. This is a very critical section. What will the team be expected to deliver at the project completion? This is an area where you need to be specific. Think in tangible terms. What will the team be handing over to the sponsor when the project is done? Ask to describe in concise terms what the project will deliver at completion. What defines the project as being done? Use the expectations deliver area to define measurable goals. So Team MeyerTech is listed here. At project completion, the team will provide a working prototype, a modeling tool, and a set of instructions to fabricate and operate the stove. A final report and a presentation of the product will be provided. Some advice about the scope. Project scope is typically one of the areas most teams see errors on their first try. When defining scope, consider the following. What assignments at the semester end are critical to the project completion? These are typically provided to the sponsor. What documentation is expected of the project? Does the sponsor expect to receive all files? Typically, the answer is yes. Is a prototype, technical demonstrator, or model of the system expected at project's end? Include this or these items if the answer is yes. Is test data, analysis, process instructions, or operator instructions needed? Now is the time to get listed on the project scope. Getting all tangibles listed in the scope section can be the best defense against project scope change. The more exact you can be, the better chance you have of controlling scope creep. Expectations deliverable section, also often referred to as goals or metrics for a project, needs to be filled out as well. Key question asked here, what performance aspects of the product are most important? This is usually going to be related to functions or features in the product, and we need to ask ourselves, how will these aspects be defined and measured? In the case of the MeyerTech project, since it is a stove, they listed 5 key areas of concern. First 3 deal with performance of the stove, the heat energy that is expected to put out while burning, the fuel consumption rate that is expected to be as compared to the original 3-stone fire, and how much heat loss would occur on the stove while it is operating. The last 2 items involve cost, looking at first the kit that would be used to produce the stove, and then lastly the stove itself as it would be sold to the family units. You notice here that values are given for those, and they're all measurable, and the units of measure have been listed along the right. It's important, though, that you get your client to be as specific as possible about what the deliverables are so that decent project metrics can be defined. Some advice about metrics. The expectations deliverable section in the charter is an area most teams struggle with. It is also critical to controlling project scope. When defining the metrics, consider the following. What functions and features emphasized in the project proposal? These are typically important to the project's success. Also, can a value and a unit of measure be defined for the function or feature? If a value cannot be determined at project start, but you are certain it is important, list it and then put TBD in the goal section, standing for to be determined, in that column, and as analysis proceeds you can get that value filled in later. Ideally, all metrics must be confirmed by analysis or by test data, so keep your metrics to a minimum. If any of your metrics are attribute, that is, they are not a quantifiable value, but instead something such as yes, no, or color, or a number of colors, then you might require a market survey to understand the frequency at which the attribute must occur. This is very common practice in many projects. Market surveys provide us an opportunity to understand the frequency at which an attribute must be present in order for the product to be acceptable. So, in essence, the market survey turns a qualitative item into a quantitative item that we can now measure, and control. So getting all the metrics confirmed and to a minimum can be the next best defense against project scope. Having good definable metrics can give you a better chance of again controlling scope creep. Last sections in the project charter are the schedule. What is the timing of the project? What are the milestones? When do they occur? In the case of our MeyerTech project, we have 3 main phase reviews that are occurring and then a final report. And the team has looked through the schedule and determined that the dates listed here, September 21st, October 31st, and December 7th are the phase review dates, and that the final report is due on December 16th. The last section lists the team resources. Who is on the team and what skills do they bring to the team? What role does each team member expect to play for the team? Then last, listing the team member names, or contact info, and their areas of expertise. So as we can see here, we have the 4 team members, Drake, Matt, Nick, and Mike, all listing down their areas of expertise. Generally in a team, members will flex so they have a chance to work on all areas and be familiar with what's going on and help to provide more variety in the work effort of the project. Often team members will double up on things in order to power through difficult items, and when many tasks need to be completed at one time, then the team members will divide and work on tasks in parallel. So here we see listed again the team members, their areas of responsibility and expertise, and their contact information listed down. What this provides with the project charter is a good communication information area that both the sponsor and the team can use for communications within the project. If you have any questions on the project charter, unclear on anything, be sure to ask your instructor or check with any of the design faculty in the Department of Mechanical Engineering. This concludes the video on project charters.